And water and RV show. I want to thank our friends, Two Traveling Dogs, for making me look like a fool, because I do a pretty good job of that myself. But I am glad to be back here on the beach, joined by my friends Bryce and Nelly, the Jergies. Guys, welcome back. You excited for today's competition?
Oh yeah,
we're mentally getting ready.
Down.
Yeah.
We got some more to go.
Oh, let me tell you, the Ultimate Outdoor Olympics. Yeah, I know you guys. I can feel the excitement. I can feel it.
I am consciously focusing on what I'm eating too, so I feel at my peak. This is real here.
Staying out of the sun so we don't get too tired. Yeah, we got strategy, man.
That's beautiful. Speaking of strategies, a lot of people are experiencing RVs for the first time.
That's
and
true.
you guys have a fifth wheel, right?
Yep, we do.
You got to love it.
We do. We had a Class A before, drivable, and we love having a fifth wheel for lots of reasons.
Plus, Nelly drives it.
She does. She drives this
why
all the
he
time.
likes it.
Right. Well, we got the absolute best person on the planet to explain not only the history of fifth wheels, but why a fifth wheel. And my buddy Ian Baker is going to take it away with that introduction right now.
Big, beautiful, yet surprisingly easy to tow. This is Intro to Fifth Wheels. So when it comes to towable RVs, we're gonna have two main types. You'll have travel trailers, which my good friend Chris Young showed you yesterday, and we'll have fifth wheels. So what is a fifth wheel? What makes it a little bit different? And why in the world is it called a fifth wheel when you have four wheels? Well, it comes down to the hitch system, right? So years ago when you had carriages, the way this connected, you had basically a wheel-like assembly on top of the carriage. And so because of the way it turned, it looked like a wheel, they called it the fifth wheel. No, it's not your friend that just won't go away. It's that connection right there. The great thing about the fifth wheel is towability. It's one of the reasons people absolutely love it. When this connects, rather than having like on our travel trailers, right, where you have the A-frame that comes out and hooks to that ball, the majority of the weight from the fifth wheel on your tow vehicle lands right above the axles. And so with that connection system and being on that axle rather than behind it, it pulls as one big unit. So even though this is huge, right, compared to our travel trailer, you don't get near the sway, which is, again, the big reason people absolutely love these. And also, they tend to be a little bit bigger. If you're looking for something with more space, you want more headroom, maybe a little bit higher end amenities, a fifth wheel is going to generally be kind of a step above travel trailers. Now, that's not always the case, right? There's some luxury travel trailers out there that are gorgeous and are certainly going to be nicer than your entry-level fifth wheels. But as a whole, again, these will start to have some nicer amenities. And we'll touch on those in just a second. I just kind of want to go through and show you some of the differences when we start to look at different fifth wheels, right? What are some of the things that manufacturers may change? And it's going to start right here, because again, we talk about towability. So this is what they call a kingpin. And the way this essentially connects, as I talked about, you will have that hitch in your truck. Now, I say truck because with a fifth wheel, folks, despite some of the crazy videos you may have seen on YouTube where it attaches to the top of a Volkswagen Bug, don't recommend trying that. The only thing you're gonna be able to tow this with is a truck. You're not gonna be able to do it with an SUV because of this connection. But with that hitch in the back of your truck, there's jaws that clamp around this. Depending on your truck, you can have a slider hitch if you have a short bed truck, so it gives you a little bit of extra room to turn. And again, we can get into hitching for quite a while. It's not what I wanna do here. If you have questions, please reach out to us at Camping World. We'll be happy to walk you through hitching and make sure we get the right hitch set up for both your fifth wheel as well as for your truck. But the pin box itself, which is the rest of this, can have some mechanisms that change the way it tows. Whether it's the Rhino box like we have right here, which is a little bit shorter and it actually allows for a little bit better turn radius, or if it is the Road Armor, where it has a pivoting head that helps a little bit with what they call bucking and chucking, which is when you start and stop your tow vehicle, it pulls a little bit, right? You can get some improvements there. And so some manufacturers will do different things to help improve that towability. Now, as a whole, with fifth wheels, right? As I said, with towable RVs, you have travel trailers, you have fifth wheels. And with fifth wheels, you'll have two different types there as well. You'll have what they call mid-profile and full profile. And your big difference will be right up at the top, right? Right up at the roof line. And when we go inside, you'll see that is the bedroom. So one of the quickest and easiest ways to tell is if you go up to the very front of the RV, if you have to duck your head down, chances are you're in a mid-profile. If you can stand all the way up, it's going to be a full profile. Advantages: mid-pro is going to be lighter weight, so therefore it'll be easier to tow. If you're looking to do half-ton towing, if you have a half-ton truck, is going to be a mid-profile. Now, I'll get into that in a little bit. We do have one here, and I'll kind of show you again some of the differences in those half-ton units. Full profile are going to be bigger. They'll give you more head space, but they're also going to be heavier. Another big one is going to be your leveling system. You'll have two different leveling systems here. One of them is going to be what we have, which on this particular unit, which is auto level. I personally highly recommend auto level, folks. Anything you can do to make your camp experience easier to set up and tear down is a big win in my book, and that right there is one of them. There's a control right over here. Come on in here a second, let's show them. So, and you'll have some different controls based upon the system, but this is one of them right there. And you can see there's a button that says auto level. You literally push a button and this does the rest. It levels itself out. Now, with that, there are some slight concerns you want to make sure of, because the leveling system doesn't know if you're on a paved parking spot, right? Or if you're on a big angle. Either way, it's going to level it out. And to do that, these jacks are strong enough a lot of times to lift the wheels off the ground. So there is some manual options there to make sure you can lower it back down. But even with that, it is still much simpler than having what they call the landing gear, which is this right here with just a power switch, and then basically having stabilizer jacks in the back. So I do recommend an auto level system, but again, it's not going to make or break it. It just makes camping a little bit easier. Speaking of ease, awning, pretty much every fifth wheel you're going to see will have a power awning of some sort. Where the big difference comes in is going to be size, right? You may have a smaller awning, you may have a bigger awning. If you have a huge RV, right, a huge fifth wheel, you may have two awnings on there, right, and have this whole side covered. And why is awning important? Well, that's going to be your main camping space. So if you have a short little awning, right, and it's a hot day like it is today, you're just going to be getting beat down with the sun. Whereas if you have a nice big awning, you have all that great camping space, you're able to sit out underneath it. So it's one of the things that you will want to pay attention to. Another big one will be your outside storage, folks. You can see right here, a lot of times with fifth wheels, they'll call this the garage. Now, this one isn't necessarily big, right? It's a good size. You can still fit some stuff in there, but kind of like we saw with the travel trailers that Chris showed us, right? It's a pretty similar size to what we have there. So not big, not small, it'll do the trick, but there are some fifth wheels that utilize what they call a drop frame. And what that is your main I-beam, right? This one has an I-beam that runs all the way across. What they'll do in a drop frame is they'll stop it right about here and actually weld a secondary smaller I-beam underneath. And that gives you all this extra storage space in here without sacrificing the strength and integrity of the RV, but it costs more money. Right? So it's one of those things. You have to make sure you're getting what you want for price point. Do you want a lot of storage? Absolutely. There are fifth wheels out there that have it, but just know it's going to be a little bit higher price point than if you do not have a drop frame like this one here. Steps, you can get a couple different style of steps, whether it's going to be a standard fold out or something like this one where you have, you know, the solid steps. So this one is the step above system by MORryde. I personally prefer these just because they are very solid. I mean, I'm a 200-pound guy. You can see I can hop up and down on this thing and the steps hardly flex, right? So I personally like those. But again, that is going to be a personal preference on what you want and what the manufacturer you're looking at offers. For sidewall construction, I know Chris talked about some different sidewall constructions. Pretty much all fifth wheels made today are going to be fiberglass sides. They used to have aluminum fifth wheels. If you look, if you go back far enough, you're looking for something used, you probably will find them. But pretty much all mainstream fifth wheels made today will have fiberglass sidewalls. And then, depending on your floor plan, and when we go inside, we'll talk a little bit more about floor plan, but you get some different options outside here too, based upon what you have. And this one is a bunk room. Quick side note, just so you know, if you see a small window up top like that, right in the back, chances are that's a bunkhouse. So if you're out looking at RVs and you're walking a lot and you want to find some for your family, that is right there is almost a dead giveaway. But with a bunk unit, a lot of times you get an outside kitchen. A lot of people like that because it gives you the ability to be able to cook bacon or anything else outside. You can enjoy nature. You know, your RV doesn't smell like bacon grease after 6 hours of cooking it. But so the outside kitchen is great for that. Plus, for me personally, I'm a really big fan of the fridge and especially the ice maker. Now, I'm a guy who likes to enjoy camping. I like to relax. And these two things right here help me a little bit with that. Help me with my little drinks. Making our way to the back here, you also have good storage space. And again, that is part of that bunk house. We'll see that when we go in there. This is underneath one of those bunk beds. So some manufacturers will put an outside kitchen here. I personally like the fact that on this unit, on the Arctic Wolf, they have the kitchen right up there and instead give you this extra storage space, especially because as we saw, we didn't have a monstrous one up front in that garage. And then coming around to the back, folks, this is the last thing I want to hit on before we do head inside. You will see your bumper, and mounted on this bumper is this cargo rack. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about, and the reason I like this is because a lot of people don't realize this, but if you mount things on a bumper of an RV, almost always that will void the warranty for the RV, because that bumper, that frame, is not built to withstand the torque, that load that it will basically have to suffer when you're going down the road, right? Because if you put 300 pounds on that bumper and it's not built to take it, every bump you hit is just pulling on that bumper, it's pulling on that frame, and it can cause damage. When they have a system like this, the frame is reinforced and built for it. So that way your warranty will stay intact. So I personally like when they put these on here, but again, it is personal choice on what you're looking for. This one in particular is 300-pound capacity, drop it down. Great for coolers, wood, bigger totes, whatever else you want to put on there. Another thing is a rear-mounted ladder, and most fifth wheels will have some kind of rear-mounted ladder as well, so you can get up on the roof. Your roof will be a couple different materials. It could be TPO, it could be PVC, it could be EPDM, it could be a blend. This is not the video where I'm going to go into some of all the differences in roof material, but pretty much anything in the industry will last for at least 12 years, right? You're gonna have a 12-year warranty on there, which is phenomenal. They only go up from there based upon the manufacturer. But that is if you take care of it, right? There is some maintenance. You wanna make sure you get up there. If you're parked under beautiful trees like this, I mean, if you see, take a look at that a second. This is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, folks. This is why we go camping, is for sites like this. But when you are out in nature, right, there are some things that happen, whether it is, a little bit of bird poop up on the roof, it's sap from under a pine tree, things like that. You want to make sure you get up on your roof and clean it off, and that ladder right there will allow you to do so. You'll also see right up top, this one has a backup camera. I do recommend them for larger fifth wheels. This one is a pretty good size. That way it helps you see what is behind you, and that's really cool because not only does that work when you are backing into your campsite to make sure you're not going to hit anything, but it also functions while you're traveling down the road. It kind of acts like a rear view mirror in a sense, right? So that way you can see what is behind you, especially, if you have someone that's getting close, just make sure that you have enough time to stop or whatever else you need. But I personally like a backup camera, but again, it will be personal preference. Now, that's just a few of the things on the outside. Let's take a look at some of the differences on the inside of a fifth wheel. And there are many, folks. It is not one of those things where we just have a couple differences. One of the biggest ones is going to be floor plan, right? Okay, Ian, what are we talking when we talk floor plan? Because it's a term that's commonly used in the RV industry. And the floor plan is kind of like what it sounds like. It is the way the RV is laid out. What I like to tell people is you essentially have a few different sections of the RV. You're going to have the front, the middle, and the back, right? And that's going to be true for both towables, for travel trailers as well as fifth wheels. And in those three sections, basically that's what determines what the RV floor plan is, right? Most fifth wheels, not all, but most fifth wheels will have your bedroom in the front, okay? And this one is no exception. We'll see that when we go up there. But you can get a living room up there. You can get a kitchen up there, even a bunk room, right? There are some other rare floor plans where you can do some stuff up there, get like a big master suite, things like that. But more often than not, in the front of a fifth wheel will be your bedroom. Now in the middle, again, most times will be your living area. So you will have your seating as well as your kitchen. And then depending on your layout, the back also might be living area. Or in this situation, it'll be a bunk room, which we'll see in just a second. Now, something else you kind of want to look for, talk about layout, something that's a little bit more popular, especially in fifth wheels. We're starting to see it in some travel trailers now, but that is having your TV directly across from some kind of seating, right? The reason being is it's comfortable. Nobody wants to sit here and watch TV like this, right? Or like this. After a while, your neck gets sore. You don't want to be staring up here. You want it basically directly across from you. And that's what they did in this article. I think they did a great job. But that's one of the things, again, maybe that's important to you. That's one of those things I would certainly look for. Another big difference we're talking about fifth wheels is going to be the refrigerator type. You'll have essentially 3 different types of refrigerators. You will have one that runs off of both propane and electric, right, off 120. You'll have one that will be electric only that runs off 12 volt. And you will have another, which is your residential style refrigerator, which runs off 120 only. And there's few exceptions to that rule, but that is mainly going to be the case. This particular one is a 12 volt fridge. These are increasing in popularity because they are larger than your gas electric. Your gas electric ones are generally 7 to 8 cubic feet. These ones run 10 most of the time. So you get a little more storage in there, plus it cools down a lot quicker than your old propane electric refrigerators. Now with layout, again, kitchen setup is going to be completely different. Some fifth wheels will have islands. If you want a kitchen island, I'll give you the quick pros and cons about that. The pros, of course, you get a lot more prep space. You're also going to get a lot of storage in that island. The con to having an island, in order to do it, you have to have a slide out on both sides. While a slide out on the off-camp side is fine, because there's generally nothing over there, when you put a slide out on the camp side, that tends to remove some of that usable camp space that we talked about when we were talking about the awning, right? Because that's going to be your main camp area. So bear that in mind. Is that a make it or break it? Probably not. A lot of people will find other places to camp on the site, whether it's behind or in front or whatever. But as you're shopping, if you want a kitchen island, just kind of, bear in mind the pros and the cons. And I always like to tell people there's nothing that's necessarily better than anything else. It's just a little bit different, right? If there was something that was better than everything else, if a 12 volt fridge was better than all the options and everything, including, price, size, how quick it cools down, how long it holds, all of it, then there wouldn't be anything else. There would only be that one option. So there are always pros and cons to everything that we look at. Same thing with ovens, folks. A lot of times, right, fifth wheels will have ovens, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you'll have an oven and a convection microwave oven. Sometimes not. This one has a microwave and this one has an oven here. Then you also get a little bit of extra storage down below, which I like that too. And so that kind of sums up the kitchen, right? But my big thing is look for storage space. The fifth wheels tend to have a lot of storage space. A lot of it is high. We talk about, having that ceiling height. You can see right up here how much space I have, how much room I have. You don't feel closed in. Also slide height. Right? In fifth wheels, a lot of times it gives you bigger slides. I'm 6 foot tall and you can see how much space I have to the top of that slide. What does that mean? Well, it means when I get up out of my sofa, I'm not going to bang my head on the top of the slide. It also means I get bigger windows to enjoy the beautiful views outside, right? Those nice big windows there. Let in a ton of light. Let me see the sights I want to see. I mean, folks, how much would you love to be sitting here right now sipping on your coffee, or maybe, I guess a little bit later at night, you probably don't want coffee right now, maybe a cocktail, maybe just some water, whatever it may be, but enjoying that view right out there, right? That is, again, one of the big reasons I love camping. And those tall slides will get you those bigger windows. Now, let's come on back into the bunk room. So this one is built mainly for families, right? When you have bunks, the idea is you have kids and you don't want to constantly make up a bed. Now, both the dinette and that sofa will drop down into beds, but this is usually easier because you can make it and forget it. And, if you want it to look nice, you close the door, you just leave this area back here. And if you have people that come over, they don't have to see it, right? Whereas if a sofa, you got to break that down every day if you have guests. But these do have 300-pound weight capacity. So these are viable for adults as well, which is really nice. You can see electrical outlets and USB ports in here. That's always a big one for me, right? So that if it is a rainy day and the kids are in here, they can plug in those electronics and play. They kind of have their own space back here. That's the big thing about the bunk house, right? When you have the bunk room in the back. Now, there are different layouts here as well. You'll notice this one doesn't have any slides. You can have one slide, you can have two slides, right, that are across from each other to really open this space up. It just all depends on what you're looking for on that particular floor plan. Slides will definitely give you more room. It'll allow for more beds if you plan to sleep more people. But every time you add a slide, also adds weight. I think this one is right around, I want to say a little over 8,000, maybe like 8,200 pounds dry, something like that, which honestly is pretty darn good. I don't know that I would quite call it a half ton. It's probably right there, probably pretty close to it. I have to look at the pin weight. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But again, great features like this. This is something you often don't get, is a pantry. More and more fifth wheels are starting to put them in, but you just don't get a ton of them. But I love having that nice big pantry right there. As soon as you walk in, you have a spot to hang up your jacket, spot for food, all that good stuff. Making our way right up the steps, let's talk a little bit about what we got up front here. So you have a bathroom right over here to the side. And this is pretty common, again, in most layouts. We have a bathroom off to the side right here. Nice big shower. A lot of times you get bigger showers in fifth wheels. And then if we come up front, it's our bedroom, right? And I talked about being mid-profile. And as you can see, if I get all the way up to the front as far as I can, I have to duck my head down. That's a pretty good sign that this is a mid-profile. And the weight that we have matches that, because again, you know, right around that little over 8,000 pound mark, it does allow us to tow this a little bit easier with a half ton. Now folks, there are so many other things I have to show you. I do want to get to the half ton unit, so let's go take a look at that one. And then we'll look at something a little even bigger than this one with a different style bunk room. So hold on and we'll be right back.
The Land, Water, and RV Show is the hottest event of the summer. Join us in stores or online the entire month of June to unlock the lowest prices of the year on chairs, tables, and patio mats. These show prices won't last. Summer trips are better with the right camp furniture, and we have the best recliners, loungers, club chairs, end tables, and more. Stock up for your next trip and get the best prices of the summer. Click, call, or visit your local Camping World today.
And here we are in the beautiful Cougar Half Ton 27 SGS. Now, you'll notice right away, this is just a very different setup, right? I talked a little bit ago about how you had different sections of RVs in your fifth wheel, right? And sometimes you kind of take the middle and the back half and combine it into one big living space. And that's what we have right here. And so this one is going to be designed more for a couple, right? More for two people. That's a lot of times you'll hear it called like a couples model or a couples coach if you're talking about like motorhomes, right? Where it's just designed mainly for two people, but a lot of times you do have options for guests. We'll get into furniture in just a moment. I'll talk to you a little bit about that because in this one, if you have any additional guests, that's where they're going to sleep. There's not going to be a dedicated bed. Another thing you'll notice right away is the fact that all the space I have here, right? The reason for that is because we have what in the industry sometimes is called like opposing slides, right? Or dual slides, meaning that the slides are right across from each other. So it opens up and gives this huge space. And that's what I was talking about. That is what will allow you to have something like this, like a kitchen island. Now this is technically obviously a peninsula, but in order to get this in here, right, you have to have slides on both sides. Taking a look at this is what they call the campside slides. Let's take a look at this one real quick. They do a couple things I really like in this one. One of them is the fact the TV again is on an angle. This is about as straight across as you can get in this floor plan without, you know, putting it right here where the window is. So if you're back in these seats, you have a great shot to that TV. This particular floor plan again is a rear living. When you have chairs like this, a lot of people really like this style of floor plan because when you have this big window, you're able to see and enjoy all the sights in the back, right? Now, with this particular campsite we're in, obviously the view is over to this side, but you have that big window in the back, so if you're able to back into your campsite for that beautiful lake view, that in this particular floor plan, that's where you'd want it to be. So let's get a little bit into furniture. With fifth wheels, you'll have a table and you'll have two different styles, technically three, because you have a booth style dinette, a U style dinette, or table and chairs like this. Table and chairs are great because they give you a lot of space, right? They're easy to get in and out of. As an adult, you know, especially if you're a little bit larger, you can kind of create or move the chair to create more space. You know, if you're big in the midsection, right, it allows you to move back, makes it a little bit easier to get in and out. You'll have a lot of leg room a lot of times. And honestly, I just think aesthetically speaking, I think table and chairs just looks a little bit nicer. It looks more residential. A booth dinette will give you, you know, just as the name implies, a booth, and a lot of times what that will give you is seating, or storage underneath the seating. You get some extra storage under there. A U-shaped dinette, a lot of people are under the impression that you can sit more people there. That's generally not the case, but what a U dinette does do for you is give you more sleeping space because it drops down into a nice big bed. As I mentioned in the back here, this one has recliners. Now, if you didn't want recliners, if you wanted a sofa instead, you can swap out furniture. Sometimes from the manufacturer, sometimes it will be aftermarket. We have design centers in a lot of our Camping World locations where you can actually go in and you can pick different furniture. You can pick different lighting. So, you know, if you have a used unit, you're looking to do a reno, or maybe you just don't like the layout or what the furniture is and you want to swap it out for something else, we can do that. And especially on a lot of newer units, we can actually color match and make sure we get something that looks like it belongs, or at least something that's going to be of a similar pattern. So if you wanted a sofa back there instead, a lot of times that is something that we can make happen. Now over to the side here, speaking of sofas, this one has what oftentimes will be called a tri-fold sofa. And what that essentially is this sofa will pull out, this right here drops down, and that's what creates your sleeping space. And a lot of times it's just one of the better sofas in the RV industry for sleeping. So you don't have a bar on your back. You don't have to worry about blowing up or an air mattress or having that deflate on you or anything like that. So a lot of people really like the tri-fold sofas. Up above that, I want to show you a little bit of the cabinetry, because when we talk about fifth wheels, a lot of times you get vast differences in aesthetics, right? So you can see here, right, with our slide fascia as well as your cabinets up top, right? You kind of have like almost like that farmhouse look, you know, kind of the not bright white, but kind of like an off-white, a little bit of brown accents in there. Looks really nice. Then if you look like over in the back side, right, you get your normal brown. So they kind of blend it together in this RV. And everyone does it a little bit different. That's one of the great things about fifth wheels. You have a lot of freedoms of different color choices. And some manufacturers even will give you different color choices within the same line. Another thing I really like about the Cougar is this right down here. And again, more manufacturers are going away from carpet, and they're starting to go to something like this, where it's either a woven material like this one, or sometimes they'll go with a vinyl like we have on the floor underneath. But that way, you know, it's less work of having to sweep, vacuum, anything like that. For countertops, you have three major styles of countertops in RVs, period. Whether it's fifth wheels, travel trailers, motorhomes, there's really only three main types. One is going to be T-mold. Very traditional countertop. You know, you have that piece of T-mold in the side that, it will kind of pop out, and it's easy to get watered in. Generally, it's your least expensive type of countertop, which is why some manufacturers use it. They want to get the price down on that particular RV. What they put in this one is what they call a thermofoil or thermoformed, and it's kind of right in between like a true solid surface and that T-mold. The thing I like about it is it has a lot better water protection, right? You don't have any T-mold on the side. It goes all the way over, so it actually allows you to undermount the sink, which you can't do in T-mold. Plus, it's nice and lightweight, which in a half-ton fifth wheel is very important. And we'll talk a little bit about weights when we get outside, because it's not just normal weights, it's going to be pin weight as well. So I want to make sure we hit on that when we head out there. But again, beautiful cabinetry all throughout. You'll see this one has a little bit different oven setup, right? You know, you don't have the storage underneath, but you'll have knobs that light up right here. And this one does still come with an oven. And then we have the Norcold fridge freezer unit on here. Open that guy up for you. You can take a look. And again, plenty of space in this one. Now, as I said, you start to get into some of the like higher end luxury, right? A lot of times they'll have residential double door refrigerators, right? Whether it's Samsung or I think a lot of manufacturers using LG as well, but they are big residential refrigerators. So if that's something that you want, start to look at a little bit higher end fifth wheels. The options are there. That's why I love fifth wheels. I mean, you can get some, for, starting at like 50, 60,000, sometimes even maybe a little bit less. And then you can go all the way up to over 100,000, depending on what fifth wheel it is. So really cool. Lots of different options and amenities, but very similar setup up here like we had before, right? You can see, boom, right there is your bathroom. Come on into the bedroom here. Now, what you'll notice that's different about this bedroom is the fact that we have a slide out right here. So this one has a slide out wardrobe, and this again is going to be pretty common in mid profiles. And as I said, this one is meant to be half ton towable, so this is a mid profile. And although I can stand up perfectly well right here, you will see there's a little step. And if I step up into that, there it is, right? I have to bend down. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It all depends on what you want. You want something that's easily towable? You want more headroom? You also notice this one has a vent up here, and it is prepped for a second AC. So that might be one of the considerations you look at, is if you want a second AC unit to keep things nice and cool. This one also has the in-command system, which is really cool. Let me show you this one real quick before we head outside. A lot of times right here is where a lot of manufacturers will put all of your controls, right? Normally it's a big panel. One of the things I really like that Cougar does is they have the in-command system. It's super simple and easy to use. You'll notice you can operate your slides, your awnings, your lights, HVAC. In fact, this one is really cool because it actually has the ability to basically it has like a thermostat, right? So you can set your AC system, and so that way it kicks on at a certain time, which most RVs just don't have that. So if you want it to turn on at 9 p.m. that's when you go to bed, you can set the system in here to do that. So there are a lot of cool things, a lot of different minor things that different fifth wheel manufacturers will do. As I said, folks, just all about what you want. Now let's take a little look at the outside of this one, because we'll notice some things that are a little bit different. We're going to start right up front. So when we looked at the last fifth wheel, I talked a little bit about a Kingpin. You will notice this one is longer, right? Your pin box here is longer than that Rhino box. But what changed? Well, you get this right here. You have the pivoting head. And this is what I was talking about, the Road Armor system that helps take out some of that bucking and chucking when you're starting and stopping. The idea is that this moves, right, as your tow vehicle, well, again, starts and stops, and that way you don't get that kind of jerking motion when you're doing that. So nice change there. Now, while we're here, I do want to hit on half-ton fifth wheels. It's something that's thrown out there a lot, and it's kind of a misnomer. It's tough to actually describe because there are some weights that you have to pay a lot of attention to. Most of the time, when you're looking at travel trailers or you're looking at fifth wheels, your number one concern is your weight, right? And so you're looking at either your unloaded weight or your GVWR, kind of depending on how much stuff you want to put in it. And we have a whole nother video on weights. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it on YouTube. But with a half ton in particular, a big consideration is what they call pin weight. And what that is how much weight is being transferred from this pin into your vehicle. Because, that when you start to go from a half ton to 3/4 ton to 1 ton, right, your biggest difference is going to be the suspension. They're able to hold more weight. But a lot of people don't want a 3/4 ton because they don't want it as an everyday driver. It just doesn't drive as smooth. They want that half ton pickup. But this one, for example, has 1,500 pounds on the pin. So you have to make sure that your half ton, the suspension of it, is able to handle the pin weight. When we're talking about half ton fifth wheels, folks, that is the number one place I see people go overweight, because a lot of your half tons can tow like 10,000 pounds. It's the pin weight that'll get you. Dropping down underneath, again, pretty similar stuff here. This one does have auto level, different control. I'll show you that when we go on the other side. Some docking lights there, nice and clean up front. This one has a spare tire in there too. I do always recommend having a spare with you on a fifth wheel. They're big, they're heavy. You put a lot of stuff in there. Nobody wants to experience a blowout, but if you do, you will be very thankful that you have the spare right there and handy. Now, one of the other things you will notice right away from the last fifth wheel we saw, look how much space we have in this garage, folks. So, again, not all fifth wheels are built equal. This one happens to have a lot more storage space out here. You'll see that in-command system. This is kind of the brains of that system that we saw inside. It also has some redundancy, so if you need to manually control things from that control, you can. And also TV hookup right in there. So if you want an outside TV, this one makes things nice and easy. Now, when we were on the last fifth wheel, we talked about power awning. So take a look at this one. You will notice on this floor plan, your power awning is much shorter, right? And as I said, that does kind of limit your usable camp space. And as we talked about with that Peninsula, the biggest reason of that is because of this right here. You have a campside slide. So you get lots more prep space, you get a lot more storage, but just know that you're losing a little bit of outside space here. Now, one of the great other things about Cougars, this one does have Climate Guard, and that's something that you want to pay attention to if you plan on doing some colder weather camping. You want to make sure that it has a fully enclosed, insulated and heated underbelly, so your tanks and lines aren't going to freeze up on you. You'll want to make sure that your valves are insulated as well, because you don't want that freezing inside of your termination pipe. And then I also recommend having tank heaters, right? So you can just flip a switch and you don't have to, again, worry about your tanks or anything freezing up on you. This one, of course, is a double axle. It's half ton. They do make triple axle fifth wheels if there's enough reason for it. And the basic reason is weight, right? How much weight do you have? If it's going to weigh enough, you need that extra axle. Very common in larger toy haulers. You'll have that triple axle. And one of the cool things about this one is right back here, and again, this is something that a lot of RVs don't have, or a lot of fifth wheels don't have. This particular one does, and that is a hitch. And you'll also notice this one has a 4-way plug. So if you have a trailer, some states will allow you to have a boat back here, right? We call it the train, where you have a truck, a fifth wheel, and then a boat behind that. And so this allows you to do that. Now, always pay attention to your state local laws, because some states don't allow it. Some of them have restrictions like length and things like that. But the fact that you have that is phenomenal. Now, as I mentioned, if you see this on a fifth wheel, you want to make sure that if you're planning on towing a boat, that it is capable of towing a boat. Sometimes manufacturers will just put a hitch receiver on there for things like a bike rack, right? And it can only hold like 200 or 300 pounds. It's not going to be able to actually pull anything. So do pay attention to that. But this particular unit does allow you to do that. What is it, 5,000 on here? Does it say 3,000? So 3,000 pounds on there. So you can, as I mentioned, be able to pull a trailer behind you. And then once again, ladder to climb up onto the fully walkable roof. So if you do have to get up there for anything, it's nice and simple. Last thing I do want to show you, come right up front real quick here. Walk around with me. Enjoy the beautiful view. Try not to fall. But as we make our way right over here, I do just kind of want to show you the convenience center on this one, because I really like it. It's tucked away. It's easy to get to. This is one of those things you'll find on a lot more fifth wheels than you will on your travel trailers, where everything is right here. And everything, is just, again, easy to access. You can see your valves right here insulated, right? They go into the fifth wheel itself. They're not just hanging out underneath there. You have this one is solar ready. It's another thing with fifth wheels. You can get big solar packages on there, and you will also notice that auto level controller is just a little bit bigger. There's a few more options on this particular unit. So folks, again, there are tons of different options when we start talking about fifth wheels. I have one more to show you. It's big, it's beautiful, it's a newer floor plan. I'm super excited about it. So let's wrap up on this one and head on over.
You want to do new things outside, and sometimes it's about that change of scenery. Woo! Just fulfilling that love for the outdoors that I have.
The best things happen outdoors, and they start at Gander RV and Outdoors.
And the last one I have to show you today, folks, is the Sabre 36 BHQ. Now, this is honestly one of my personal favorite newer style floor plans, what they call a mid-bunk. And the reason I love it is because traditionally, as we kind of saw in the beginning, the bunk house or the bunk room is in the back of the RV. And usually that back of the RV is reserved for like the best part of the RV in most cases. But with a mid-bunk, they're able to put the bunk, they shift the bunks to the middle, and then you still get this awesome rear living room back here. And I like this because, I don't know, maybe I'm a selfish guy, right? But I like to have my space. I want the kids to have their own space too, but I like to be able to sit down and relax, and this right here allows you to do it. And again, you can see, some of the different colors we have in here, a little bit different woodwork. We have a ceiling fan in this one. You're going to have 2 ACs. You have a little bit different light fixtures. Just so many different options when we're talking about fifth wheels. I mean, look at this. You have lighting right behind your trim right up there, behind the crown molding. So there's definitely a lot of different really cool things they can do. In shades, this is something that's very unique to the Cherokee family of RVs, and which this one, the Sabre, does belong to. And these are what they call zebra shades. And these are kind of neat, the way they kind of lift up and down, because what you can do is you can just lift it just ever so slightly, and you get to control the amount of light that you want to let in. And they just roll all the way up, roll all the way down, super simple and easy to use. I really like those. And nice, simple right here too for your window dressings, nothing overly complicated. They use really pretty lights. And again, I just like a lot of what they have done here. Now, you'll also notice that this one has, once again, the opposing slides, right? That's what opens this space up. That is what allows for your center island right here in your kitchen. And you will notice this one has a different type of countertop, right? You're looking at true solid surface right here. So, we're not concerned about weight. So we can have a heavier, little bit nicer countertop. So that's why they put the solid surface in here. You have the nice big high-rise faucet, and I absolutely love the sink in here. It's like that black stainless steel that's becoming really popular, and they use that for the sink, and I think it's really sharp. But again, not only do you get all this prep space, which is huge. It's what I love having the Island 4 is all the prep space, but you also get this storage. I mean, you can see right around here, all this extra drawer space, plus opening this up, right? You have space for a trash can underneath the sink. It's one of those things, folks, I always look for as a place to put my trash can. Maybe it's silly, but it's just one of those things that make a big deal for me when I'm looking at different RVs. And our entertainment center, storage all the way across the top, good size storage. And as we kind of talked about before, that TV is directly across from the main seating. And you'll see the main seating in this one, rather than being like a dinette or a sofa, is actually theater seats. And this is something that's becoming a little more popular too. And theater seats will have different options. Some of them, like this one, right, has heated seats. So if you just want to kind of relax a little bit, you can heat the seat up. It also lights up, and it has a massage feature. So you can turn on that heat and massage. There are some theater seats that also are power seats. Those are fantastic because I have a lot of clientele where they go to try to put the footrest back, and it's hard, right? Maybe they have a knee problem or just don't have the leg strength. A lot of times it can be tough to do that. So the power seats are fantastic. The drawback to that, though, is they do have to have 120 volt power. So you either have to have shore power or you have to have a generator running. Now, again, this particular set of theater seats has a nice big center console, and this can change. Some of them don't have one in it at all, just like a little removable armrest. This one does. Big storage there, some cup holders, great theater seating in here. And then along the back is that trifold sofa, kind of like we talked about before, right? You can see that trifold right there. And this one does fold out into a large bed. Plus, you have the end tables, electrical outlets, everything you need. In fact, this one even has a fireplace. Now, I see a lot of people that see the fireplace like, Ian, why in the world do I need a fireplace? That is so overkill. And I couldn't disagree more. And yes, it does look nice, right? But that's only part of it for me. The bigger part is the fact that's an electric space heater that's just built in. So rather than just, have something ugly there where it's just like a box, with some slots in it, right, to kick out heat, they made it look nice. Why wouldn't you? It helps take the chill off in this main living space. I love when they put a fireplace in there. And we talked about pantry, right? Boom, there it is. Nice big pantry in this one. You'll see when I waved my hand in there, the light turned on. That's because it has a motion sensor light. Some of those things you will find. Some of them have it, some of them don't. A lot of times, some manufacturers will put them like in a doorway or in your garage storage as well. So when you open those up, that will come on for you. Right up top here, this of course will be our microwave. Again, sometimes, as I said, you will get convection, and here it is not, but you can. Right down underneath that, nice backsplash. You get all sorts of different backsplashes, very similar to our cooktop style we saw there. But when we get over to the fridge is a big change up because this one uses a residential style refrigerator, kind of like I talked about, right? Boom, there it is. You got the double door. Now remember, this one only runs off 120 volts. So again, you're going to have to, have shore power or a generator to run this for an extended period of time. Now it does have an inverter, so that way as you're traveling down the road, it will, stay running. But once you get to the campsite, you're going to need some kind of alternative power source. A couple of freezers down there too. Now the mid bunk, here's really where it takes over. Beautiful rear living, which is why I love it. But this right here is your mid bunk room. And the idea is that, it started with kids. Some manufacturers changed to call it a bonus room because, it's exactly that. It doesn't have to be for kids. You can have adults in here. You can have this as a secondary space. I've had couples where they like to watch different shows. They don't want to watch the same shows, and they want someone to have their own space. So one person will be out in the main living area. One person will be right in here because you have TV hookup. You can watch your show right in here. You got some storage for clothes, whatever else you want to toss in there. Then this trifold sofa will fold out into a bed. Now, I've also seen manufacturers that have this set up, but the ceiling is higher. And then there is a bunk up above this sofa, right? So you get a little bit extra sleeping capacity in this mid bunk room. The reason this ceiling is so low in this one, we'll see in just a second, is because there's a loft up top. So you have different options. Even within like a mid-bunk fifth wheel, you have different options. Really cool barn door on this as well. I just want to show that. I really do like this. I think it's kind of stylish. I think Sabre did a really good job of picking up on a lot of the modern trends. Coming up the steps here, so just like I talked about before, right, that control panel usually located right here on the steps. This one is a little bit more simplified, not quite as easy as the Cougar we saw, right, where it just had one panel. This one has a few more switches on there, but at least they did kind of condense everything to this area. Then as we take another step up, this right here is the loft. Now there is a built-in ladder to get up there, but if you take a look up there, folks, this is pretty cool. You have a loft space. And there are a number of different fifth wheels with loft space. A lot of times, most of them I've seen are mid-bunk, but I actually have seen a lot of them recently where they put a loft above a bedroom. They actually end up putting the bedroom in the back of the RV. So it's usually a front living room fifth wheel, right? So instead of this being a bedroom, this is your living room. And then you actually walk down into the bedroom, but then up above it, they have a loft up top that can sleep like 2 or 3 people. So folks, there are so many cool floor plans when you're talking about the fifth wheel space. And then right in here, again, the bathroom, and we talked about the big advantage of fifth wheel bathrooms. The biggest one, in my opinion, being how big of a shower you can get. Let me step in here just to kind of show you. I am 6 foot tall, and as you can see, I have a ton of space. I mean, I could be 6'5" and still stand in here without having to duck down. You get a seat in here. I can turn sideways and still be able to shower. So that's going to be a big plus over travel trailers, right? A lot of times you have a smaller shower in a travel trailer. Most times fifth wheels will also have a big water heater. Now I would, this is where the travel lock is. Honestly, folks, if I were to get in and out of the shower, I'd get in and out this way, right? Just because that's going to be a much easier step than what I just had to go through. Boom, just like that. Another thing to pay attention to is your bowl on your toilet. Porcelain bowl on there is much easier to clean. Again, we're not concerned about weight in this fifth wheel, so we're going to have a little bit nicer amenities like porcelain over a plastic bowl, and that is going to be easier to clean. Come on up into the bedroom here. A couple really neat features up here as well. This one, instead of having a slide out wardrobe, you see right there, you have a slide out bed, right? So touch a button, that bad boy slides out, gives you the space to be able to walk around the bed right down here, which I certainly like. And another thing you'll notice before we hit the wardrobe, one, you'll notice a second AC right up top, right? It's already built in. This is a big fifth wheel. You're gonna want that second AC to be able to cool things down. Take a look at this though, folks. 6 foot tall. I'm all the way in the front of this RV and I can stand fully upright. I don't have to duck down in here. We're getting a bigger profile. Again, we are not concerned about weight in this one. Spot for a TV right there, pretty common when you have a slide out bed like this straight across. Big wardrobe up front. This is a really cool thing for a couple different reasons. One, it just gives you a ton of space. You can see all the shoe storage down there. You have space to hang all your clothes. But more importantly is that this has washer and dryer prep. So if you're looking to spend a lot of time in your fifth wheel, right? Or maybe you're looking to live in it. We have a lot of people that are full timers that live in their RV, or maybe, they do a 6 and 6. They live in it for, 6 months out of the year, but they want the ability to do laundry. And so you want to make sure you have that in your RV. And this one's really cool because it has standalone units, meaning you have a separate washer from your dryer. It's very common in RVs to have what they call a combo unit where both of them are in one, but most of the time you have to get that because of space. It's not ideal because it generally has smaller loads and it takes longer to wash and dry the clothes. When you can get a separate unit like this one, that's really ideal. So again, folks, there's so many different options when we're looking at fifth wheels. This is just kind of hitting on a couple of the things on the inside here, but let's take a look at the outside, right? I just kind of want to go over some of the differences. And I mean, you can see right away just how big this fifth wheel is. I mean, from front to back, from tip to tail here, it is a big RV. There's just no doubt about that. So let's head up front. Let's hit on some stuff on the front, and then we'll make our way kind of around down to the side. So once again, right, we look at the Kingpin, and you will see that this one little more basic here. You know, we don't have, you know, the Rhino box. We don't have the Road Armor, but that's okay. You know, it still is a solid connection. And if that is something that's important to you, to have a different pin box on there, again, that is something that at a Camping World location, we can swap out for you. This one also has auto level. If you notice, the 3 we have today all have auto level. As I said, I recommend it. A lot of people see the value in it. If you don't, then don't worry about it, because, you know, it is a little bit of an expensive option. But most people, once they get auto level, they prefer to stay that way. You'll also see right up front, this is a little bit different, but that is your inverter. This box right here, that is your 1,000 watt inverter, and that inverter is dedicated to the fridge. As I mentioned previously, that is what allows you to be able to drive down the road and have your fridge stay nice and cool. Your auto level controls right over to the side, as well as a switch for your lights. Coming around to the side, let's take a look at our garage storage. So, you know, a little bit different on this one. It's not quite as tall as the Cougar. It is a little bit wider, but you also see this one has some plumbing running through it. You know, again, not necessarily good or bad. It's just a little bit different. They could have put a wall here and made the ceiling lower and covered all that up, but instead they gave you, try to give you as much space as they could, and they ran the plumbing through here, and they tried to get the plumbing over to the side, so that way, you know, you don't have plumbing running like right down the middle of the garage. Sometimes they have to do that in an RV. It's certainly not my favorite, because you kind of have to work around it. You also see TV hookups if you want a TV, and of course, this space is lit up. Another really cool thing about this one, folks, you get an outside kitchen. A lot of times with the outside kitchen, as I said, on a bunk model, it has to go underneath one of those beds. Well, the beds are on the other side in the middle of the RV, but they still were able to carve out a space for your little outside kitchen right here. I love this. You have water access, both hot and cold. Plus, you get the little mini fridge here for beverages, which is really cool. And if you want to do some cooking, you want to hook up a grill, anything like that, right underneath is your propane quick connect. So hook up a grill, you can cook right there, do the whole 9 yards. This one also has like an option for dogs, right? A lot of us have dogs or cats or, you know, other loved ones that we bring with us when we go camping. This is super cool, because instead of having to take like a, you know, like a stake and drive it into the ground, boom, you just hook the leash up right there and you're good to go. Let's go on down a little bit further here. Let me shut that guy. You have the steps, you know, kind of similar step system that we saw before. Nice big curved grab handle. And you'll see this one has a decent sized awning, but, you know, it doesn't run the full length of the RV. They're not able to put a second awning on here because of the slide. But, you know, is the trade-off worth it for you? You get that huge kitchen island. It's worth it for me. Might not be for someone else. I personally really like having that big island. So for me, I think it is definitely a win. Let's make our way around to the back real quick. There is a couple things I want to point out back here. One of them, again, with a big RV this size, comes with a backup camera. Definitely a smart move, folks. You want to make sure that, you know, when you're backing up, you're not going to hit any trees or anything like that. You want to have great vision. That allows you to do it. And then right down here, this is really cool because, you know, unlike the Cougar, right, where that Cougar we saw had the actual class 1 hitch, I believe it is, for the 3,000 pounds. Instead, this one is just an accessory hitch. This is the one where it has a 300-pound weight capacity built for like totes or a bike rack or something like that you can slide in there just to help you carry a few more things down the road. Now, folks, this is just a few of the different fifth wheels that are out there, right? Some of the different options. Hopefully, you're able to kind of get an idea of what a fifth wheel is, if a fifth wheel is right for you. Now, if you're planning to tow your RV, do you want the fifth wheel? Do you want a travel trailer? The options are definitely there. They're both great options, just depends on what you're going to be towing with and what kind of amenities that you're looking for. And as I said, we're just scratching the surface. There's so many different cool floor plans that are out there. And folks, if you're interested, I highly recommend just hopping online, taking a look at some of the different options, so that way you can enjoy nature, get out there, start kicking off your adventure, and have beautiful views like this.
I love you.
Love you too, Papa.
Hey, honey, look what I got. A triggerfish.
Don't settle for the trips you've always taken. There's a different way to travel. And RVing is the way to go.
Look at this area. So cool. We're here!
You can see new things. Travel to new places. Seek new adventures. It's moving! All without leaving home behind.
You're so fun.
I know.
Travel different with Camping World.
At least for me growing up, nature has always been a form of relief and medicine. The idea of getting my family into nature is a form of grounding them. There's a lot going on in their heads. Having them out here kind of gets that stuff out, and then we can recharge. My name is Jorge Narvaez, and I'm here to show you how to plan a perfect family camping trip here in Southern California. First and foremost, find your home base. Here, this is Santee Lakes.
It's moving!
This is our headquarters for the rest of the vacation. And then we go everywhere and hang out. Hiking, going to the beach, and it's all nearby. Always plan for the unexpected. Embrace it, in fact. And that spontaneity becomes that moment where you take it in and you go, okay, now it's really like more developed moment, more developed memory, you know, bring out the guitar and jam out, relax, break bread together. Bring the fancy stuff out if you can, and make that a moment for you and your family. Try something new. Get out of your comfort zone. I haven't been that uncomfortable in a very long time, and then it just got released. My whole family got out of their comfort zone. None of them had ever experienced that before. We all shared that unexpected moment. There's a good sense of pride. 1, 2, 3. Explore spots that are meaningful to you. I actually went to school nearby at UC San Diego, and when I was overwhelmed or I was feeling something, I'll grab my guitar and I'll just sit at the edge of the cliff and just jam out. To be able to bring back the kids to that space and seeing the place that I learned a lot from. I was able to successfully connect my past to my present with this experience with my kids and showing them how to explore and how I explored, but in such a unique way and as a family. It was the best thing ever.